So I do get that, oh, James Dean's your grandfather, you must be better than me or whatever. Well, that isn't really what I'm getting at, but I'll tell you a little story here. Um, well, William Blast, he was supposedly James Dean's boyfriend, and for 50 years he said no, James Dean wasn't gay. And there's a guy who wrote a book about James Dean, and he went around interviewing all these people, and um, there was two women in his book that claimed they had James Dean's grandson. One of them was a lady named Joan Kazana or something like that, Kazana, um, which I believe was my great grandmother's um, or grandmother's um, one of her married names. Um, and in the book, he claimed that the other woman said that Warner Brothers had paid her off to not talk about it. So there's that. Um, and well, William Blast decided he was going to sue this guy, and this guy was an author, but he was also an attorney. And so, he showed up to court, and he thought there was going to be some court case, but then William Blast decided to say, I guess I won't sue you. Some defamation suit or something. So a few years go by, and then about 50 years after James Dean's death, this guy William Blast claims that, oh yeah, we were boyfriends, and James Dean wanted a serious relationship with me, and we were going to move in together and all this stuff. I think they had been roommates or something in college, but which doesn't make any sense because James Dean wanted a serious relationship with Pierre Angeli and his other girlfriends. It wasn't, so that's obviously not true. And why would you for 50 years say that, no, that, James Dean, it wasn't gay, and then all of a sudden come out and say, yeah, he was gay? Doesn't make any sense. So, anyhow, why would Joan's dad, Robert, not put a father on the birth certificate? Well, Robert was from Terre Haute, Indiana. And the words Terre Haute, they're French words meaning high ground. And, he was on the side of fairness. He was one of the original Boy Scouts. In 1910 in Indianapolis, it was one of the first scout troops in America, and they had their morals. And his uncle, Martin Egan, who was a friend of John J. Pershing, the general, they were doing things for the betterment of everyone, defending the country, making sure Europe didn't get taken over by the Ottoman Empire, the they were trying to do the right thing. Now, that's why Robert didn't put James Dean on the birth certificate, because James Dean was a minor, and Robert felt that that was wrong to put a teenager, a 14, 15-year-old teenager on a birth certificate as the father of his grandson, because he could afford to take care of the new one. So That's why that happened. It's even though it's unfortunate because there's not really, with just that one document that would prove everything I'm saying. Now it's more difficult, but still, if you add up all of the things that have gone on, there's overwhelming evidence that James Dean did have a son, and they have been lying about it all along. And now let's go take a look at Warner Brothers. They were Polish Jews from Poland who immigrated in 1906 or something. They came down from Canada where they lived first. But the Wozniak, I think they were called Wozniak, but they changed their name to Warner. The brothers were known as hustlers, and not the kind who work hard, the kind who trick people into illicit gains for their own gain. And, they got a hold of a movie projector and started showing other people's movies in, places like Maryland and the Ohio River Valley. So started small, they worked their way into $100 million loan from Goldman Sachs and expanded their theater enterprise. And after World War I, the dog Rin Tin Tin was brought home, and that was their first big success. And Jack Warner nicknamed the dog the Mortgage Lifter. I mean, that's kind of a cruel nickname. When it was, the dog was, everybody loved the dog. It was a popular television show, but Jack's view was no, it was just a mortgage lifter, something to get him ahead. And if you look at the propaganda wing of the U.S. Army, the military, which Martin Egan was the top civilian advisor to General Pershing for, is they were using their propaganda to defeat the enemy, defend the country and Europe. Whereas the Warner Brothers, they were using their, propaganda, which is just basically anything that they've ever done. It's just, basically false or misleading or embellished. All those television shows where, and they've gotten even worse with everything. All of they're kind of popular now. The cut to scene with all the corporate espionage, and the hitmen are over here doing the corporate leaders' bidding, and it's the game that they are playing, but I'm not so sure it's the right game. When General Pershing arrived in France for the first time, they attributed him saying, but I think it was actually one of his aides, Lafayette, we are here. And if you know anything about Lafayette, he was a Frenchman, a soldier who came to the colonies during the Revolutionary War, and he actually helped the Americans win the war. I think the French Navy blockaded some of the ports so the British couldn't get more cannonballs or resupply or whatever. So they were paying back that debt of, the French helped us out, escape the tyranny of the monarchs in England, and we were there in World War I to help the French and the rest of them to maintain their sovereignty. So if you think about me, which you probably haven't. Um, I'm not saying you owe me a debt, but they have incurred some imbalances on as far as I'm concerned. So, and it could be that not only have they cheated a lot of people along the way to get where they're at, they're cheating you now by um, ignoring my requests to have um, some sort of role in a film. I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask. I'm not asking to sue them or take them to court, but let's just say I can prove James Dean is my grandfather, and I can prove that he was murdered by Warner Brothers, and they conspired to um, take control of his work to pay off their mortgage. Now that it is a publicly traded company, how many of you would sell your stock? Why would you want to put your money in a company that is um, founded on hustling people when you could be putting your money into green energy or um, some other, beneficial thing for everyone? Because the television shows they are putting out, I don't think everyone's watching them. I mean, not that great, right? It's um, I guess kind of funny and trending or whatever sometimes, but it's of no benefit to anyone, unless you're talking about some actual valid documentaries or interesting things to learn about. The rest of it's all just kind of made up entertainment for um, to fill your brain with all of these kind of suggestions that there are um, these things going on.